And welcome back to the One Take Livecast. I'm Jax, and tonight, for this episode, we're going to be joined by Beth Blade of Beth Blade and the Beautiful Disasters. Let's add them in. So, I can invite them in, or if they can click the plus button down below on here, and then in they come. Here we go. Hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good. I'm very old-fashioned when it comes to technology, so I'm quite
That's
surprised
okay.
that
But
worked.
here you are.
I am
Hello.
indeed. Hello.
So, done a lot.
Sorry, you
There you go.
broke
Can
up
you hear me
then,
now?
Jax.
There
I
you go.
can.
Sorry about that. I said, so, well, you've been doing a lot recently.
Yeah. I don't quite know where I've managed to fit sleep in, and as you can probably tell, there's not much sleep going on. But yeah, we've been really, really busy. We did a gig last week with Ricky Warwick and the Fighting Hearts, which was absolutely fabulous up in Blackpool. And then on Friday, we're playing probably our last headline show for the year up in Lancaster, which is going to be a kind of evening with gig, which is acoustic to start and then a full electric set.
That's
So
really
it's going to be
good. And
fun.
to play with Ricky Warwick of famously, Black Star Riders and also his own work, that must have been a real treat as well.
It is, we're super lucky that we get to play with bona fide legends, you know what I mean? Like this time last year, we were on tour with Graham Bonnet, which is insane. And yeah, we're very, very lucky that there's some amazing promoters out there who let us jump on these
Yeah,
gigs.
and to do shows like Planet Rock as well. That's pretty much fun as well.
Yeah, it really is. We wouldn't. The way that I see it is that that's all down to people coming out and seeing us live and word of mouth and all that kind of thing. And that's, really for a band, the best thing that people can do is tell your friends about them, tell the venues about them, tell all the people to listen to them, because without people power, bands
Mm,
don't exist.
exactly. And obviously you've done touring, you've played at gigs, you've played at festivals, and you've written some amazing songs. Bitch Bites is personally the favorite.
Thank you. That's an old one, but I can see. Well, so Jack, for anybody who's watching, Jack's here. We
Yeah,
go way back. I met Jack in my university halls on the first day I moved to Cardiff. I needed a pencil,
yeah.
and he brought me a pencil. And that was before this band ever existed. But he's actually wearing the very first tour T-shirt that we ever did.
There it is.
Which was only a run of. There's only 50 of those T-shirts out there. I sketched that on in a notepad and scanned it in. It was very old low tech, and we did our first EP. We hand printed everything, so we burned the CDs in a CD burner, which is a non-existent thing anymore, and printed out the covers, glued them on by hand, and handmade all the inserts. And there's only 50 of those, so you never know. One day, Jax, that might be worth
Nah,
something.
I can still fit into it, which is surprising as well. So that's pretty good.
I can't fit into mine.
No, but I remember the first gig I saw you from, and that was at Fuel Rock Club and everything. And it was a pretty good gig as well. It was loud, it was fast, it was heavy. I mean, we get in the circuit. I know we get a lot of the metal bands and the black and the death metal in the grassroots scene, but it was nice to see more hard
Yeah.
rock. Because that's, I'm not saying it's rare, but at the
Yeah.
time it was pretty rare to see a hard rock band. Really.
Yeah, there was kind of a little bit of a resurgence, wasn't there? So in 2016, when the band got together, I remember I'd been in Cardiff for about 3 years at that point, and I had been trying to find a band, but I couldn't find one that wanted to do the kind of music that I wanted to do, which was, your traditional hard rock. It was either your straight up kind of metal, black metal, all that kind of stuff, or it was indie and alternative. And whilst I do listen to those genres, for me it wasn't kind of where I wanted to go. And then all kind of around the same time, there was Florence Black, there was us, there was Everyday Heroes, there was Those Damn Crows, and it was kind of, there was just something in the water at that point, and all these bands started springing up out of nowhere.
Marty,
And yeah, it's been very
yeah,
fruitful
there was
for
Marty
Wales.
as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, yeah. It's I think there's something in the water down there that just, you know, Welsh people and people who end up in Wales, there must be something in the water that just makes you
Mm.
want to play some good
But it was
music.
nice to be part of that movement as well. As well, what do you call it? The Welsh wave of hard rock.
Yeah, absolutely. They now it's kind and now it's kind of almost a full UK thing, but there's still quite, a predominance of Welsh bands that are doing really, really well. Um, and I just think perhaps, and maybe I get this coming from the north of England as well, in places, in South Wales, like the valleys the, and not in a bad way, but in places where there's not a lot to do,
Mm.
people get creative. And I think, coming from working class backgrounds and things like that, there's a lot of things to write about. You've got Florence Black, they wrote a song about one of the disasters down there where there was a landslide, and some of their children, they lost some of their children, and it, to me, there's just a bit more of a bite to it when it's coming from something that is very real and like lived experience. And also people down in Wales are just
Mm.
like super friendly, which I love. Because that's the thing. When I moved there, I walked into Fuel Rock Club as a young woman going through a breakup and moving to a new city to study, and everybody was just so nice and kind, and um, having a live venue there, and the whole of Womanby Street in general was a nice place to feel kind of accepted and start exploring
Mm.
music and
Yeah,
creativity.
it was, and and then to play there, you know, uh, is pretty much full circle as well. And then by getting to know the area by playing there, and obviously going forward, which has led to the touring, the gigs, the festivals, and everything. It was a really good door opener, really.
It really was, and you guys will have to excuse me. I did lock my dog away for this interview, but he's being a little bit of a brat and
It's
is
okay.
barking at me. So you guys are gonna
We've
come
had
for a wander with
we've
me
had cats
because
and
I think you need to
dogs
wait.
interrupt the show before, and it's pretty fun, to be honest.
There we go. Yeah, he needed a wee. It's been raining outside all day, and every time I've opened the door, he has not
Oh,
wanted to go out. But yeah, so Fuel Rock Club was really important because for me, this band wouldn't have happened without having that place as somewhere to meet people and meet fellow musicians. And then also, our first ever gig was there. we literally got a gig and was like, yeah, you've got 2 weeks until this gig. And I had written like 5 songs. So we literally ended up doing those 5 songs and a bunch of covers. So I believe we did Love Bites by Hailstorm. We did Blame It on the Boom Boom by Blackstone Cherry. We played Love Walked In by Thunder, and a couple of other things besides. And it was one of the nights, and I remember it was a Maybank holiday, and we had the girls who did the fire breathing and all that kind of thing. And Rob and Ange, who run Fuel, from that point on, they were so incredibly supportive to us. When there was a gig that came up that needed a support band, they would always ask us. And we cut our teeth in that venue. That's how we started. And I'm really grateful that we had somewhere like that, because now we're getting to the point where there's so many places closing that it does worry me. Like, where are the kids coming up now, your 18 and 19-year-olds, if there's nowhere for them to play? What is going to happen to the next generation of music? So it's really important that we cherish our live music venues and use them and support
I agree.
them when we can.
I agree completely. I mean, at the end of the day, you're one of those people who've never forgotten where they started, and it's always good to see bands still performing there to this day. But this is like any venue, any grassroots in the world. If it's sacred to you, keep purchasing tickets. Keep if it's a bar, keep buying drinks there. Just whatever you can to keep a roof over its head.
Yeah, absolutely. The best thing that people can do is for venues and for bands and promoters right now is buy your tickets in advance. If you're able to do it, please do it. It gives promoters and venues and bands a clearer picture of whether they're actually going to be able to pay for the event to happen, because a lot of time and a lot of people, we know a lot of bands that they play gigs and they come out with a loss in some way or form, whether that's because they're traveling 300 miles and they've got to pay for a hotel or that kind of thing, and the promoter, you're not just paying the band, you're paying the bar staff, you're paying the sound man, you're paying whoever is on lights, or sound woman, should I say. And a lot of people don't realize how much goes into just putting the teeniest tiniest gig on. So if it is something that you are passionate about, try and support. If you think that and if you can afford it as well, if you think you can make a gig, buy the ticket in advance. And then if you can't make it, if it's £5, because you can literally go and see some of the best bands there right now for a tenner max, you know what I mean? So if you can risk losing a tenner, do it if you can. And people need you to go and watch them, because this is the thing, is not every band is going to be for you. It's not going to always be your genre or something you particularly like. But if you can appreciate that somebody has been creative and gotten up there and had a go at it, at the very least, that is something, and it is appreciated by musicians and artists. I can promise you that.
Exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, the support, like I said, it doesn't always work, but for the ones it does work for, support them, buy off them, and remember where they started, and just keep giving them the support and everything. And it was nice to see you at those starting gigs and to see you grow. I mean, you have grown, not just entertainment wise, but performing wise. I mean, it's let you reach out your full potential. I mean, to start at a venue and then to play at another venue, and then festivals, and then sometimes have your own headlining shows as well. That is, that's truly a lucky blessing. So following that, now a lot of musicians have their own sort of like signature instrument, or their own, signature thing. What do you love? And I've asked a mutual friend musician this as well. What do you love, about the Ibanez Iceman.
And I'm gonna guess the mutual person is
It is.
Marty Venus. Well, that's because we're literally the only two people that I know that plays an Iceman. So it's a good guess. So for me, obviously, the first time I ever saw that guitar was probably as young as I possibly can remember, being 1 or 2 years old, and Paul Stanley from Kiss, plays that
Star
make and
Child.
model of guitar. And I'd always wanted one, but obviously, they are quite expensive. And then I managed to get my hands on one in 2017, and it's kind of become my main guitar that I play live. I do love a Les Paul, I'm not gonna lie, but they are very heavy and they don't necessarily have the best access if you're playing like lead work, or sometimes if you're doing chords or riffs like quite high up on the neck. So for as much as I move around on stage, Les Pauls can give you a bit of neck ache, a bit of backache, and the Iceman actually has the same pickup configuration, and the same kind of almost tonal quality as well. So as much as it's a nice looking guitar and it's a bit different, it also contains that same sonic quality as a Les Paul, which you need that heaviness for this kind of rock music. And it's really
It is.
pretty.
It is. It's really got a really nice shape and look to it. I mean, and there are a lot of people out there that play the Ibanez Iceman, not just Paul Stanley as well. We said, oh, I've forgotten his name now. The guitarist from System of a Down.
So you've got
Darren,
Darren
System of a Down.
from System of
Noodles.
a
I
Down.
think Noodles from the Offspring played the Iceman for a bit, but I can't be sure.
Perhaps. I know that what's his name now? Sam Topman
Dragon Force,
from
yes, and
Dragon
oh, I've seen
Force
him do
played
that.
one,
Yeah.
and somebody in a band called White Zombie from the
I can't.
70s had one as well, and that's kind of like a green
Yeah.
one with like white stars, which is a very rare guitar. But for me, I really do love the shape. I love that it's different, but it's that's the thing with a guitar, is that you don't want it to just look cool. Looking cool is
Sound good.
fine, but if it doesn't sound good, then there's no point in it looking cool. And the neck on the Iceman is absolutely fabulous as well. It's really quite thin, which helps because I have teeny tiny hands. And it's just a really beautiful guitar, and those like
Yes.
kind of bucket list goals that you have. Well, it's on my list that hopefully eventually I will get to do a signature series with Ibanez and have my own
Do you hear that,
Iceman.
Ibanez?
So with Paul Stanley retiring, if
Ibanez, if
Ibanez
you're
ever see
watching, this is one endorsement you would really want.
yeah, I think I would make it. Oh, let's think. I would put 3 humbuckers in there, and I would make it purple glitter sparkle with silver hardware.
Would you
I think that's the
would you
one.
put a
But
star on there as a little nod to?
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I'm that easy,
Yeah.
honestly. So
Well,
predictable.
you're the biggest Kiss fan I know.
Yeah, just a little bit, but it's not just in terms of with that band, everybody kind of goes on about the stage show and all that kind of thing. But for me, really, it's mostly about the music and the songwriting craft. It's very Beatlesque, another band which I love, and for me, it's all about the crafting of the songs and the riffs and the hooks, and then obviously, personal heroes, Gene and Paul Stanley have worked for 50 years now, um, with a very good ethos. I'm not teetotal myself, but I've never been into the drug scene or anything like that, because when I was a kid, I had those 2 guys as role models who promoted having a clear mind when it came to the music business, which was something that not a lot of people did back then. You know, kind of rock and roll and sex and drugs was kind of the thing, but they kind of steered away from that, and they've used it as a an advantage. And now that they have not only a band, but they have a multi-million-dollar brand, and many successful businesses.
Everything.
Yeah, and again, also, you know, two guys coming from I'm not even sure what you would call it in America, but from working class backgrounds. Gene Simmons was an immigrant who came from Israel, and they came from nothing and ended up being some of the biggest rock stars of the 21st century. And for me, has always been a guiding light to kind of stay on the path of focusing on the music and the work, rather than necessarily the excesses that come with it sometimes.
Well, two more Kiss questions for that. What would you...
Okay, hey, I can
know.
talk about Kiss all night.
Obviously, your name is similar to a Kiss song, but what is your favorite Kiss song of all time?
Is it one that nobody
Nothing
knows?
to Lose?
It's called Who Wants to Be Lonely, and basically in the video it's just Paul Stanley dancing down a corridor in a pink and lime green coat with lots of hot women wearing skimpy leather, and there's a really cool effect where Bruce Kulick, the lead guitar player at the time, kind of like is like playing guitar in the war, and it's so cool. But I love that song, and it's actually a co-write with Desmond Child, who is a very famous songwriter. He's known for working with a lot of people. He's written for Katy Perry, but probably his biggest one that people would know would be he co-wrote a lot on Slippery When Wet by Bon Jovi. So You Give Love a Bad Name, and Living on a Prayer, and all that kind of stuff. And he has a very specific melodic sensibility that I really like, and I can literally hear a song and I'll know that he's the songwriter just hearing
That's
it.
pretty cool. And second question to add that, favorite Kiss product?
Right, my favorite Kiss product, because it's just genius, and basically they've figured out how to get people to pay them money for nothing, is in Las Vegas. You can go to Kiss Monster Mini Golf, and you can purchase for the sum of, I think it's about $3 or $5, Kiss air guitar strings.
I remember that. I remember that.
So
I know. It's
good. It's absolute
nuts.
genius.
It's genius nuts, though. It's the madness of intellect. You know, for me, I've always got to go for the pinball machine.
Oh well, if I ever won the lottery, I would buy a Kiss pinball machine, but they are very rare and very few and far between, so they go for like 20-30 grand. I know a couple of people who have them, and I am very jealous.
If you go to Weston-super-Mare, if you're ever doing a show in Weston-super-Mare in Somerset, one of the arcades there has a Kiss pinball machine, so a little bit of pre-gig relaxation for you.
Oh, cool. I'm gonna have to find that.
Coming from Blackburn, obviously, was there a gig or a venue you played? Oh, hello. Oh, he's cute.
Yeah, he's like, I
What's his name?
want cuddles.
Oh,
Go
what's
ahead.
his name?
Oh, he's called Remy.
Remy, that's a lovely name.
And he's a very needy dog, as you can tell.
Well, before I get on to the original question, I'll ask about Remy, sorry. No, Remy. Obviously, a lot of...
Oh, maybe we should change his name.
Only if you want to. Obviously,
yes.
A lot of touring, a lot of prepping, a lot of rehearsing, a lot of practicing, and a lot of, preparation in to get into a gig and or going to a festival or doing a headliner night, would you say when all that is done, to
Mhm.
come home to Reme, is that like a perfect, stimulant to relax? It's great to play for people.
Yeah, absolutely. It's um not gonna lie, it can be really, really hard. So everybody in our band has a day job, as well as obviously being in the band. Music is our passion, and we do it because we love it. But unfortunately,
Mm,
the way the industry is, until you get to a certain level, it's not, your main stream of income. So for us, when we're doing this, when we're doing the gigs, it's often that we have to take time off our day jobs. And I work Monday to Thursday. I work until 7 p.m. at night. But then once I finish my day job, you've got to do band administration, you've got to try and book gigs, you got to do all this social media, and then obviously write songs and create art
mm,
and content. And yeah, it can be quite, it's almost like having two jobs. So for me, it's always been really important that you kind of have a safe place to come home to. And when we're on the road and things like that, I definitely miss my animals.
oh,
We have a cat as well. All of the guys in the band have animals, and we do miss them. We do wish that we could bring them with us, but we were thinking about getting some like little doggy and kitty t-shirts printed for them.
that would be cool.
And I'm sure that other people would be like, yes, we want band t-shirts for the animals. But yeah, it's really important to have a grounded sense of home as well, especially when you do a tour and you're going out on the road and things like that. It's nice to be able to come
It
home.
is, I agree. And it's nice to, as much as you love your fans and love the supporters or anything, it's nice to just shut the door and be with the dog and cat and just, chill for a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to recharge, and there's a lot of mental health issues that are quite amplified in the creative industries, music as well. And they tend to have a very high rate of mental health issues and substance abuse issues and alcoholism and things like that. So it is really important that you have rest and look
Mm.
after yourself when you
And
can.
also switch the brain off because you're thinking of songwriting or, remembering the lyrics to songs while also. So yeah, it's important.
Yeah, I'm not very good at that. I wake up in the middle of the night with song ideas, or my head's a jukebox. I'll wake up and my song will have remixed two songs together, and I'll go, oh yeah, I didn't realize those songs. So it is hard for me to switch that part of my brain off, because the creativity,
Flows.
you can, yeah, sometimes inspiration just strikes and there's nothing you can do about it. Um, but I do try my best to try and be a person as well as a musician, and also kind of have that come through, like talking through a screen, because that's, you get to play the live gigs, and that's the best bit of it for me, is interacting and making connections. But because
Mm.
of the way that the world is now and the advent of social media, you have to be able to connect with people through a screen. And me personally, I've found the best way to do that is
Yeah,
just by being yourself.
the only way to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Because, it's all well and good trying to be cool, but if you're trying to be somebody you're not,
you've
then
always
that's
been
not cool.
yourself, even, on the when you've been on the CDs or done the photo shoots or done, prepping, you've always been Beth Blade.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I try and be as authentic as I can. If
Mm.
I'm not me, then that's not fair on the people who are investing their time and their energy and
Yeah.
their money into us.
So, question for I asked about Remy, of course, cute dog. Obviously, originally from Blackburn. have you gone back there and played a venue, or is there a venue from Blackburn that has really stood out for you and you were like, I want to play there, or you have played there, and did that kind of feel good?
So funnily enough, the thing with Blackburn is it's kind of in a crisis right now. There is currently no dedicated live music venue. So there was Electric Church and there was the Charles Napier, and both of them have now gone. And that is what's happening to the industry. Places are closing, and it is a real shame. But there are some smaller places that are keeping it going. We have friends at a lovely pub called the Drummers
Great
Arms,
name.
and every
Great
time that we
name.
play there,
Great
the
name.
Drummers Arms, every time that we play there, it's so nice to play for a home crowd, because literally I will know every single person in the room, and it's almost like having a get together with your friends, and just playing for them, and it's very intimate and very again, like I said before, having those proper connections is really wonderful. And we play their acoustics, so sometimes we can do, covers of songs and things like that. But in Blackburn, there is a venue that I've wanted to play, but I haven't played yet, but I really want to. So there's a big hall called King George's Hall, and back in the 70s and 80s, every rock band played there. Everybody has played there. The Beatles, David Bowie, Queen, Motorhead, Iron Maiden, and it is on my list of places to play. So I need to work on that one.
Well, I wish you nothing but luck for that, and may that just happen. May that just
Thank
happen.
you.
The process from also back to the creative side, thinking in your head, letting the creative flow in. What was it like doing your first album as well as continuing to do that?
So the first album was really interesting. So if we go a little bit further back, at the time when you first saw us, Jax, we did an EP, and we actually recorded that in my university's recording studio ourselves. It was self-recorded, and in the end we ended up getting a lovely guy called Pete Nudeck to remix it because it sounded terrible. And we wanted to do our first album, and we wanted to do it right, so we didn't want to do that again, and we ended up being put in touch with a guy called Nick Bryan, who worked out of Leaders Vale Studio in Ebbw, but he also had connections to Rockfield, which is obviously a very famous Welsh recording studio. And the thing about that record is that it was all done really fast. We started the band in 2016, and that album was out in September 2017. So we wrote all of those songs very quickly and recorded it very quickly as well. And in fact, when we got into the studio, we did the whole thing in 6 days. So it was pretty much live, or as much as possible to the extent that it could be, and it was very, very, very quick. And at that time, for me personally, creatively, I was very conflicted. I often felt like I was writing what I thought would be not popular, but I was writing what I thought people would like more than I was writing for just myself, because that's the thing on your first album and things like that these days, it's a pretty big statement to make. So I was concerned so much about getting it right. And then there were 2 songs that we put on there that I didn't actually want to put on, called Poster Girl for Pain and Angel with a Dirty Face. And I didn't want to put them on because I felt that they didn't fit the band genre. And the boys at the time were kind of like, no, just put them on the record, it'll be fine. And even now, people will come up to me and they say that they love those songs because they're so different. So when we went on to do the second and third album, I kind of and still feel this way. I've gotten into the habit of not censoring myself in terms of genre, because that would just be making the whole musical landscape of the band restrictive. And you don't want to do that. You should be able to do whatever kind of music you feel like that it moves you. If you want to do a song that is jazz, or you want to do something that's a bit more poppy, or grunge or metal or whatever, just because you're classed as a rock band doesn't mean that you can't
Expand.
explore that within your sound. Exactly. And I obviously, and as well as a woman in rock, you do worry about the way that people perceive you a lot as well. That line of what is acceptable and what isn't, and being empowered or not wanting to say something, or actually wanting to say something but feeling like you can't. So from that first album, I think I was still a little bit scared to be myself musically, but now I've come completely out the other side. And especially with their last album, there's topics on that album, from suicide, rape, domestic violence, sexual assault, and all these things that I wasn't quite brave enough to talk about when this band first started, and I have to give credit to our fans for that, because they made it feel like it was a safe space where I could discuss anything I needed to talk about. And on the last album, most of that was, it was written in lockdown when we were all going through a pandemic together. And I honestly felt that if I wasn't honest, if I tried to write happy songs and all that kind of stuff, that just wasn't the authentic experience that everybody was having. So who would I be to try and pretend that everything was okay? And I felt like I needed music to listen to help me get through what had happened. So why did I think for a second that other people wouldn't need that too? And honestly, it's been very healing for me being able to write about those topics and actually having people feel like they've had some help, or it's helped them discuss something that they couldn't discuss before, or it's allowed them to feel the emotions that they've struggled with for so long. So for me, it's just a complete blessing and a lifeline music has been. And that development of being a shy, scared, 23-year-old songwriter to now being a 33-year-old grown woman, that artistic development, it's really nice to be able to look back and see how far I've
Yes,
personally
and
come.
it's very important to talk about these topics, even if people can't, like you just said, talk about it. They can listen about it. Music is such a resonance. Music is a universal language. Even if you're just enjoying the melodies, but then you're hearing, what the lyrics say, you find a very relatable, not relate, mutual connection to it as well. And to have
Yeah,
fans, listening to the last album, feeling that connection, probably feeling safe, feeling relieved, feeling cathartic. I mean, as well as yourself, when you were writing this stuff as well, it probably felt quite cathartic as well, that you put it into something which is close to your heart, music. So, that is a very powerful message to send, but also a very self-benefiting message thing for yourself as well. Um,
yeah, I've got to say, music is the best therapy in the world as far as I'm concerned.
and obviously, I saw you with the band then. I'm really sorry I haven't seen you recently. I will make up for it. uh,
Hi, good man, people have lives.
yeah. But with the band now, what's that experience been like?
Um, We are super lucky. So, we have had a couple of lineup changes over the years for various reasons and things like that. But the guys in the band are basically just all my little brothers, and it's a privilege to be able to have fun and play music with people that I genuinely love. We are a little family. We have our parents who support us, and Mark, my partner, also comes on the road with us. He does the tour managing and all the social media and stuff like that. And I hope most of our fans would agree and know this, but we're probably one of the bands out there having the most fun, because honestly, we don't take any of this for granted, and we always get into some form of mischief or something ridiculous happens, and it makes for great stories. And we really love to have a good time, because that's what this is for. It's to music, for me, is escapism. Alice Cooper said it best, that the rock show is there so that you can forget all the bad things that are going on in the world,
Forget the
just for an
Vincent.
hour, and you don't have to think about anything else, and you just purely in a moment and existing in that moment and in that joy. That's what I live for. That moment on stage where you're not thinking about anything else other than the music, and having fun and connecting with people, making eye contact with somebody in the crowd, and everything you've got going on in your life just kind of melts into the background.
Exactly. I mean, truer words never spoken, and especially what Alice said, because you get, of course, Alice here, Alice there, and then back to being Vincent for a bit, but we all know now it's Alice. But I mean, it is an escapism, from putting your headphones on to listening to a random tune you're like, oh, I haven't heard this on the radio song, to listening to audience out there. If you want to check out a band, Beth Blade and the Beautiful Disasters. Yeah.
That's the thing, isn't it? Music, I don't know many people who don't have music as part of their life. There's a very rare occasion when I come across somebody who doesn't like music. But for most people, music is a soundtrack to their life, and they can be transported in an instant by a song, whether that's to the first kiss they ever had with their wife, or the song that was playing on the radio when their kid was born, or what their parents used to play when they were little, or if you go to a football match and the song that they play when somebody scores a goal.
You learn guitar on.
Exactly, and it's so ingrained in people's lives that until we got to lockdown, I don't think people really understood the value of it and the level that music was important in people's lives. I know that, not doing a gig for a year and a half and not being able to go to a gig for a year and a half, it was literally like I'd been cut off at the knees, because I just didn't know what to do with myself. And it was my coping mechanism. And it's like, well, how am I supposed to do this without this? And obviously there were some very creative adaptations, and we got there in the end. But people, life now is so complicated, and it can be messy and heavy, and there's cost of living crisis, and there's climate change. There's all sorts of things to worry about. Social media is at an all-time high, and we need music more than ever, I think, to get through the modern world the way things are right now. Music is going to be a grounding force.
Music makes friendships as well. It makes
Absolutely.
couples. It's a snowball that just rolls down the hill, and it likes to get bigger and bigger and bigger. and that's what's beautiful about it. And speaking of music again, what have you got coming up, and what all platforms can they find you, and where can they buy your merch and your music, please?
So we've got a busy second half of the year coming up. Like I said earlier, we are playing in Lancaster this coming Friday, which will probably be our last headline show of the year. So we're going to make it a special one. But then we've got Nosfest down in Southampton, which is going to be great. Some more Welsh folk on there. Shez Kane is headlining. And then we've got an acoustic performance at Rock Witch Festival. And then we're playing KK Steel Mill for New Wave of Classic Rock Fest on September 23rd with The Treatment and Scarlet Rebels are playing that. And then we've got a gig down in Cornwall, and we're supporting Hand of Dines in Buckley in Wales. And we've got Heretic Fest in December in Glossop, playing with Mother Vulture. And you never know, there might end up being some other gigs in there as well, but that's all I can remember off the top of my head at the moment. But anybody listening, if you haven't seen us, please come out to a show if you can. We do get around. We'll be somewhere near you soon, I'm sure. And we get to play with all sorts of amazing bands, so even if it's not just for us, you will end up seeing other bands who are incredible. Like I've just seen Tony from A Priori is watching, and they're an absolutely incredible band, and we've been lucky enough to play with them a couple of times. And bands like Bastet, and
Bastet.
we're surrounded by so much
Mm.
talent. So oftentimes when we get to play a gig, we also get to go watch the gigs, and that's the best thing is getting to be a fan of other bands as well. And I absolutely love seeing other people kick ass, and I love being wowed, and I'm like, yeah, and I'm always down the front making an idiot of myself and being a fangirl. But yeah, so as far as us on socials, you can find us everywhere at BBATBD official, TikTok, Twitter, which is now not Twitter, it's X, I don't know, Threads, Instagram, Facebook, and then we also have our website, which is bethbladeandthebeautifuldisasters.com, which has our merch store on. But even if you can't buy anything, please just follow us on our socials, follow us on Spotify. All these things help bands like ours, especially because we're independent as well. We don't have management, we do all this ourselves. And we work as hard as we possibly can while doing our day jobs to try and make our dreams real, I guess. And I just want to say, Jax, thank you for speaking to me, because without people interviewing you or doing radio, there's a lot of internet radio stations and podcasts. Without all that kind of stuff, we'd have nobody to talk to. So I very much appreciate
I
it, and so
appreciate
do the
you
boys.
coming on the show, because you've always been one of those guests I've always wanted on my show. Because, like you said, I remember, I can remember a bit with the pencil and everything, and just coming up and say, "Hey, you want some pizza?" Or I've got something. I think you were my only friend in that building, because everyone else was just so nothing wrong, just hipstery, or with it and everything.
Yeah, I mean, finding the rockers in the
It
bunch
is,
is
it is.
hard, isn't it?
So
So
the
we're we're, we're always and people think Guns N' Roses, AC/DC, all these big massive bands. You wouldn't think that it's hard to find other
yeah, it
rockers,
is.
but at times in my life, being into rock music
Mm,
has been quite a lonely place. And then you meet your people, and you're like,
I like
yeah.
Kiss too. So yeah, kind of like. So the final question for tonight. Now, obviously, the name's Blade. Now, if you were what if you were any kind of blade, like any bladed object or anything, what would you be? What do
Oh,
you like?
I'm trying to remember what it's called. Uh am I allowed to
Yes.
include mythical blades? Okay, we could be here a while. Oh, blimey. So it would either be a Japanese are
Katana,
they called
yes,
katana?
katana. Or a
Yeah,
big one is called a.
because they are so sharp that you don't realize you're
No,
cut
they're
until
sharp.
after you're cut. And then if I was going to be a mythical sword, I would
Oh,
probably be
yes,
Sting
yeah.
from Lord of
Get your guitar to glow blue. The
the
strings
Yeah, that'd
made
be pretty
from.
cool. But my reasoning for that is that I try to be a really nice person and be, quite sweet, but if you're being mean to somebody I love, and then I'll be
Yeah.
like, jab.
Wouldn't it be cool if you had guitar strings made from the blades of Sting, and but instead of evil showing up, it's the chants of the crowd. And
Ooh,
yeah,
metal guitar string. Wow. Oh
yeah,
God,
we
we're
are.
getting geeky now, guys. Sorry.
Oh, well, thank you for being on your show. Best of luck with all the upcoming events. To our viewers as well, as you mentioned, check Beth Blades and the Beautiful Disasters on all social media platforms and Spotify. Much love to Remy the dog, and I appreciate you coming on the show, and can't wait to have you back someday. But thank you very much.
Anytime. And thank you for everybody for watching and tuning in on a
Cheers.
rainy Monday night.
Anyway, see you then.
Rock on, everybody. Bye.
Rock on and good night.